Welcome to Stoa Conversations. My name's Caleb Ontiveros with another short solo podcast. We'll have some conversations from Michael and I coming soon. I recently had the chance to go to Athens, the fortune to visit Athens, Greece. And I thought it might be good to chat about some reflections from that trip, from that pilgrimage, if you will. I got the chance to go to the Stoa Poikile, the birthplace of Stoicism, where Zeno of Citium taught. It's currently being excavated. I visited Athens back in 2012 as well, 2012 or 2013. I believe it was being excavated at that point as well. So it must be quite the project. Mostly the foundations are visible, but it's not in great shape. The adjacent Athenian Agora is far better preserved and remarkable to walk through. The Stoa Poikile, which of course means painted porch, that is really just much closer to a foundation and some rubble. That of course brings to mind thoughts of impermanence, something the Stoics wrote constantly about, which has a kind of irony to it, of course. They remind us about the temporary nature of things, and yet the sight endures, the philosophy of Stoicism endures. People still visit for that reason, millennia later. And even as it's just a site of ruins, where the bustling philosophical life once was, there was a kind of energy of the place that still comes through amongst all the touristical attractions and tourists like myself. Overall, visiting a city, Athens, is as far as indifference go, certainly a preferred one. It's a wonderful thing, at least for an American like myself. The city has ancient roots, of course, but it has almost a Near East feel. And as I was saying, I've been there before, more than a decade ago now, and it felt more vibrant to me. And, I know I'm no travel expert by any means, and I think many, say, European travel guides and such, or proper cosmopolitans, will accurately see Athens as a top-tier European city, but it's not necessarily going to be on the list of top 5 cities, even top 10. Many people will visit Athens on their way to one of the Greek islands, which are also worth visiting. I didn't get any chance to see any this trip, but I was able to my last visit. And those are there's so many islands, but let's just say several of them are worth visiting. The ones you'd expect might be slightly overrated, but there's certainly underrated ones as well. At any rate, even though Athens may not be at the top of the list for many, if you're interested in philosophy, interested in the ancient world, that perhaps shifts your calculus, and rightly so. I think it's a worthy candidate to visit if you get the chance. And if I was a nomad or anything of that sort, I could certainly see Athens being on the top of the list in terms of a place to end up for, perhaps for a few years. But that's not the life. I've chosen to live, for better or worse. So if you do get the chance, of course, you have to see the Acropolis with the Parthenon. It has a detailed and well-constructed museum that one must also visit. Probably one of the best examples of architectural modernism, really. Again, I'm no architecture expert, but I believe it's done in a modernist style, which doesn't always work. But in this case, I think it works. It works very well. And you can also visit the Lyceum, where Aristotle taught, which I did. Again, that's another place where you see the foundations. But otherwise, there's not too much left. It's not like some of the temples where you have those pillars, friezes, and so on. Even in worse condition is Plato's Academy, which I didn't get a chance to see this time, but still remains. It's still there, even if it's just remains. Something that I saw and that made me, that kicked off a thread for me, something I might write about some more, is in one of the museums I visited, there was a copy of an Edward Lear painting. He's done many landscape works of Greece. This is in the 19th century. It's entitled Imaginary Representation of Athens during the Classical Period. And I actually haven't seen a digitized copy of it. If someone has it on hand, you should send it to me. Do email us at stoameditation.com if you have it on file. I did a quick search and I haven't found it. The painting shows the Acropolis at the highest point, the temple centered, and it's a depiction of a resplendent classical city, but not in a crowded way. It's still spacious, seen from above. And it brought to mind this thought that Athens itself is, in a way, imaginary, in two senses. First, there's the epistemic sense. A lot of our thoughts on the classical period are reconstructed from fragments, and what we know, we often add details to, guesses. In other cases, one must describe them as embellishments. So there's that sense, but there's also the aspirational sense, in the way that Athens is seen as an ideal, a paradigm worth emulating. You have Socratic inquiry as a way of life, citizens taking their membership in the polis seriously, at its best at any rate, their identities deeply bound up with the fate of the city, and yet they remain individuals. And of course, it's not entirely fictional. It approximates reality. But Athens is almost to the city as the sage is to the individual. A platonic form, if you will. And a myth in the best sense, something to aspire to, something worth depicting in art, as Edward Lear did, but also philosophy, works of fiction. We have, of course, the myths, the Greek myths, that are, and all these things are worth living inside of, immersing oneself in, both for emulation, but also intrinsically for what Athens was. And anyway, I think that's an interesting thread to think about, and is at least for me, is perhaps been best understood. The meaning of Athens as a city is, it's interesting to think of that as best captured in art, whether that's paintings, sculpture, and of course the works of philosophy that we have. And that's something, and to see it as something as an ideal, certainly something the Athenian citizens were themselves in reality concerned with as well. Whether in the theoretical sense concerning philosophy, or just in the purely physical sense, the way they capture, the way they use mathematics in constructing their buildings, but also depict the human form in beautiful ways. So that's just a brief meditation, if you will, on a line of thought that my visit sparked off, something I'll be thinking about some more. Let me know what you think, or let me know what you think. If you all have any other thoughts on Athens in particular as a city, as a destination. But, this won't be, of course, this won't be turning into a travel podcast by any means. Michael will be back soon, and we'll have some more conversations between us shortly. As always, let us know if you have any feedback, thoughts, comments, questions. Stoa@stoameditation.com. Thanks for listening.